Hey class, I'm Doug Brown, your instructor for our Introduction to Terrorism course, JUS 429, the fall term of 2015. And I created this video. It's just a short video. I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what we're doing this first term and give you some tips and hints to help you be successful in the class. So first, let me tell you, I'm very excited about you taking the course. It doesn't matter what your discipline is today or what your career goals may be. I believe that you can get something out of this class as we explore terrorism. Now, this is somewhat of an introductory class to terrorism. If you've had the Homeland Security course or any of the courses before that's related, you'll get some of the same information, but hopefully you can get some in-depth information as well as we explore terrorism. So I wanted to take a moment and just first ask you to take a look at some of the information I posted in the announcements area. Try to read those tips and hints that I've given you to help you be successful in the class. If you'll follow those and use your grading rubric, which is exactly how I grade, you should be successful and complete the grade with a good, or complete the course with a good grade, and I'm hoping it's an A. I think we can work together as a team to do that. Now, speaking of teamwork, one of the things that I like to do in my class is work together as a team. If you see a student that's struggling or not saying much in the discussion board, or if others are not responding or replying to their thread, please take time to jump in and add to that if you can. You don't just have to post twice. That's the requirement, to post, to respond twice to your fellow students in addition to your initial post. But take time to really spend some time in the class and have a good discussion. Have a good discussion in the course. Sorry, I'm having to do a couple things here. So take time to do that, and let's all work together as a team and lift each other up. I really believe in teamwork, and I think if we work together as a team and follow those hints and tips and read the material, we can do that. We can all finish the term successfully. So I think you're going to do that, and I'm sure going to do everything I can to reach out to you and help you to be successful. So let's talk real first, really about the assignment that we have here in Module 1. We're going to take a look at terrorism. We'll try to define terrorism, which is a bit of a challenge, but we're going to look at terrorism, really look at the root cause, the root word of what terrorism is and where it started. We can all go all the way back to the beginning of time almost, when when we had those people in neighborhoods and kingdoms and fiefdoms and all that sort of thing, scaring each other and having military activities and fighting one another, and they created havoc, if you will. Today we see that terrorism is really on every front. It occurs in the United States domestically, and it occurs across the world. Now, we have a huge attack against the United States. It's occurred long before 9/11, and it continues today. We see ISIS, and we see all these different groups, many of which we'll talk about throughout the term, that's creating havoc not only for their own homeland and their neighbors, but also the United States. They're constantly trying to attack everything that we're doing. So, what is terrorism? It's really a method. Excuse me. Allergies. It's really a method of combat in which random or symbolic victims become targets of violence. That can be the neighbors, that can be the people they're in the government, that can be the military, or that can be me or you. Again, we see a lot of instances of domestic terrorism. We'll try to distinguish the difference between crime, criminal acts, and also terrorism as well. But the thing about terrorism in our generation, even in my generation, being a little older than some of you, I'm sure, we live with terrorism every day. We live with those acts of terrorism. We see where incidents take place not only overseas, which is what happened when I was a kid. Today it's happening here. It's happening on our own streets, whether it be the attack of 9/11, or we saw what happened in Waco. We saw what happened in Oklahoma City. We've watched what recently happened with the Boston bombing, the attack on the the recruiting center in Arkansas that happened a couple years back and killed several people, the attack that recently happened in Tennessee. All those things are examples of domestic terrorism. Now, some of that is a difference between domestic terrorism, that which occurs on our own land, and homegrown terrorism. I think as we move along, we'll see more homegrown terrorism, terrorism that starts, the root is amongst our own people, not just from someone overseas. But we certainly have that influence of those across the world that wish to do us harm, whether it's Al Qaeda or something else. So terrorism is all around, and that's a good thing that we're learning as much about it as we can. So again, our objectives, we're going to identify and discuss some modern definitions of terrorism. We'll talk about some of the different typologies of terrorism and examine the factors that motivate terrorist organizations. Now, I think you're going to be amazed at what motivates some of these terrorists. Now, we like to say that terrorists are people that live in the street and they don't have very much, and they don't make very much money, and it's kind of a gang mentality. And yes, that's the truth. That is the case. But we also see doctors and lawyers and physicists and very educated people that join these organizations for a variety of reasons. Okay, so it's not just about education or the environment that one lives in. Maybe it's more about culture. I don't know. That's what I hope to learn from you in your discussions, what your thoughts are. Is it culture? Is it about money? Is it economics? What is it that drives, motivates people to join these organizations and to carry out some of these different acts? Okay, now in our discussion this week, what we will do is define terrorism. You'll be able to offer your thoughts on the definition of terrorism, again, which is very challenging because many federal agencies and then governments across the globe have a different definition of terrorism. For instance, a basic way of saying defining terrorism is that which scares us, that which inflicts terror on us. But is that just it? Is there another way to define what terrorism is? Tell me. I want to hear that in your discussions. And when you develop those discussions, don't just put one or two words in there, a couple of sentences, and move on. Please make sure that you have a really good, deep, in-depth opinion based upon what you've read in the material and what you've had in your own experiences. And tell us what you think is your definition of terrorism, how it's defined, the problems with defining terrorism, and have a really good reply. Reply to a couple students, 3 or 4 students, 5 students, whatever, and put some really good information in there. Now, please make sure that you use citations and resources, follow an APA. I like to see that in your discussions, your blogs, your journals, all your papers. If you've never used APA, don't stress about it. Use those resources that I provided in the hints and the tips in the announcements area, in the library, in the writing center. Those are good ways to do it. Yes, it will take you a little bit of work to do it, but I think you'll be fine. Now, what I'm also going to do for you is, because, again, I don't expect you to learn APA and how to write perfectly. This may be your first college class, and maybe your last college class. I don't know. But I'm going to work with you. I'm going to give you emails and tips and try to help you get along. As I said, this is a team effort. I don't expect you to just sign up for the class and hope to do well and throw you to the wolves, so to speak. We're going to work together. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to mentor you. And I'm going to give you that information that you need to learn about this subject and learn how to write well. At the same time, using APA, and at the end of the term, we're all going to do well. We're all going to make an A because we've read the rubrics and we've used the hints and we've all worked together as a team. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about having an opportunity to work with you because I learn something from you every day. All my students, I learn from you. This isn't just about you learning from me. It's not one-sided. I learn from you. So say what you like to say, and we'll get through it, and don't sweat the small stuff. Okay, so that's a little bit about this, about the discussions. So please take time to look through the class and make sure you develop a really good discussion. Now, also on our module, besides our discussion this week, there are a couple of other things. Pardon me. Allergies in Arkansas this time of day, or this time of year. There's some other things that we're going to do. We in addition to our discussion, we actually have 2 discussions. The first one is defining terrorism, and the second one is moral justification. What's the moral justification of terrorism? Is there a moral justification? And then we'll have a short position paper, Thinking Like a Terrorist. A video, hopefully we've corrected the link there, my German interview. You'll be able to write about that. Again, share your thoughts, go back to APA. When I look at the papers, I'm not requiring an abstract from you, but I do want you to develop those good papers, put the APA. Your references section should be a final sheet, a separate sheet all by itself that has references based upon the hints and tips that I've given you, those examples in the announcements area. Now, again, please take time to look over the guidelines and the rubrics. That's exactly how I grade from those. The way I grade is I use the rubrics and I try to give you detailed, exact information on what you did well and what you can do better in the future to get better on your next assignment. So I think you'll do fine with that. No problem. So what can I do for you? As I said, I'm not just your teacher, your mentor. I really am here to help you to learn the material, to help you get through the class and complete this class, no matter what your career goals may be, so that you have a better understanding of what terrorism is and how you can use that in the future in your career goals. If you ever need me, I'm available 24/7, 365. You can text me, call me, email me. I'll do my best to get back to you real quick. Sometimes I get back to you within seconds. Sometimes it may be a few hours, but I'll do everything I can to support you. No question is too small. There's no stupid questions. Send me something if you have a question about it. If there's a discussion you want to have about terrorism and incidents that take place that's not found in any of the material, let's talk about it. Let's bring it out so that others can participate as well. So again, I'm excited about you being here. I hope that I do well and serve you well. If you have any questions, reach out to me, and try to make the live session that we have scheduled that I posted in the announcements. I think you'll get some information there. You can ask any questions about the course that you may have, anything that I've maybe missed in this video, and let's move forward. So I'm excited. Here's to a great term, and I'll see you in the discussions and the assignments. Have a great day, and thanks for coming.